A sorsom jobb vagy rossz nekem. Itt minden idegen.
You want me to explain the process of technically, or what is actually the concept of? Like technically, I mean, I just draw the imagery with pencil. After that, I create some kind of a underpainting, and except for the background. I think for the background, I just start with a yellow color because that helps to bring the other colors to push them completely forward. It's gonna have a very black background, but the yellow is really going to help to push some of the other places to the front. The same happens with the figure. I'm gonna use some glaze, the first glazes that's gonna push the last glazes completely come to the front. My work has to do with mental states and the psychological space, I think, in that sense. What it's the emotional paint instead of what it's physically paint. Even that the imagery shows a lot of physical pain. I think what I'm trying to do is for me, it's some kind of a symbolism. It's not physical pain that I'm trying to show, but more what is the emotional pain or the mental pain.
Well, I don't have a preconceived notion of what the painting's gonna be like. I guess you could say. I allow myself to be affected by my surroundings. I usually just start sketching right on the board, and because my work is so process driven, I think all the information that invariably ends up getting layered on becomes important. Like lines from this underpainting perhaps will show through in the finished painting, and so maybe it won't be this whole foot anymore, but maybe it'll be a part of the toe that's, you know, in contrast to some new type of image that I like to take away information more than I like to add it, I think. And I do a lot of children. That's what a lot of my work is right now. So I don't necessarily put the children in realistic backgrounds, so to speak. They're more in backgrounds of texture and color. I've been working, I think this multi-panel framework is try to do like one panel paintings, but it just doesn't work for me. So that it's time to either kind of break it down, sand it off, or like change the panels up. And it makes me see differently. It's like allows different ways of seeing.
If the audience walking around on the floor, hamaguri floor, hamaguri powder put on the shoes, and so it is put on so, and he and she audience will bring it back to their home. I found the chili powder in here. This is a Hungarian very popular cultural thing, food. It is the same thing. I make the same room, same space, and audience choose this. If audience choose this, audience bring their homes, their culture. Black one is pure Japanese charcoal, and the charcoal uses charcoal is very popular thing from ancient Japanese. Charcoal has a infinitive holes. So charcoal make air clean. It's also the popular Japanese culture. So we'd like to make a white and black space, and the audience should choose which space do you want to go walking around and taking our culture to their home.
Interested in topographical maps, and when you look outside of an airplane window, what the landscape looks like that you're flying over. And I'm interested in things that have that phenomenological idea that it seems like something you've seen or someplace you've been, but isn't really. So that it's imaginary. Suggestive if they're realistic.
To me, I like to react to what I see around me. I notice that many artists are very inward directed and look very much at themselves, and I love nature, and so I like to react to the nature that surrounds me. I think I have sort of a special feeling, communion with that, and so that's what I enjoy. I love color. I love bright light, and so part of what I'm reacting when I paint is to that quality of the light. I love things that I consider to be beautiful, and I find all of nature and creation very beautiful, even when it's cities that are falling apart and ruins. That can be very beautiful too. I'm thinking of it as my creation series, where I'm using, sort of like the Big Bang imagery, and some words from the Bible, which says in the beginning was the words, and I'm putting it in Spanish and in English both, and then just sort of trying to create a design with the words and the paint.
I usually sort of start off by saying that I use a camera, but I don't sort of consider myself a photographer, because I didn't really know exactly what I was sort of getting into or going to be doing when I started in art or photography. Basically, I sort of look through the camera lens, and wherever I am, not looking for specific places, concrete sort of objects that are recognizable, but more or less making images that somehow explore questions and feelings, moods. Not exactly trying to sort of answer those questions. Often the pictures are sort of spare or minimal, not just sort of not a lot going on there, and that's sort of related to the whole sort of absence and presence. It's not specifically related to Hungary, it's not sort of about Hungary or this town we're in. I suppose there's maybe some of the feelings about maybe I'm having while I'm here are certainly part of it.
But the other
so wild.
Well, I think it's a combination of portraiture with narrative. I've always been really attracted to portraiture, which is a genre that's really existed over centuries, and I think it reached its high point in the 1400s. It takes on more of, I think, a narrative feeling when the viewer looks at it, because I don't believe that it's important for the viewer to know who the characters are, but the characters themselves are important in the actual creation of the work. So they're important for me, but not for the viewer so much, which is where that divergence comes of the difference between, I think, an actual kind of the definition of portrait and in the idea of a contemporary narrative. I'm really interested in how people take on different personas in public in front of other people, and how sometimes they let down their guard when they're unaware of being watched. That there's a lot that goes on in people's lives that goes on in the inner workings of their mind, and they don't necessarily want to share that with the rest of the world.
I'm working on a one-woman show, multi-characters. That's the story of the First Lady of the United States launching a sex boycott to fight global warming. And it's inspired by a 2,500-year-old ancient Greek comedy called Lysistrata, in which a group of women get together and all the women of Greece to deny sex to their husbands to stop the Peloponnesian War. And this play has been the theme of my life for the last 3 years or so. Mm-hmm. And so I received a grant from a theater in Burlington, space grant, where I got 60 hours of studio time towards the first round of development, and I presented the first work in progress showing right before I left to come to Hungary. And so I have been attempting through the heat to try to keep generating material and refining the script. I'm scheduled to do another performance in January, though I'm hoping that there's going to be opportunities throughout the course of the fall to keep presenting material, because it's much easier. Well, it's much easier when I have a deadline. And
these are a new series that I'm doing based on things that are created by humans. But these are surfaces that are created by humans. So this is a bas relief section of it. And then the study I'm doing is seeing how it fits inside the square. And once I figure that out, then I'll probably change some of the figures in to create a dichotomy, rather than just having a straightforward rendering of a section of a bas relief. The technique is rather simple, although it looks really complicated. It's just straightforward little brush strokes that it tends to look like a drawing. It does. So they're applied rather than taken on the wrap. And I'm looking for texture, for visual texture. And the more complex the images like this, the more textures I can get. These are studies for the next phase. Like this, for this one, there's the fingers going like this. It's not going like the middle finger up. It's really subtle. The stuff I used to do before was very in your face. Now it's subtle. I'm more into how beautiful the things are that we had, and the stupidity or the absurdity behind it, rather than just absurdity.
All of my work relates to superstition, issues of superstition, but more importantly, kind of hones in on the child's psyche relating to superstition and what we do as children and kind of the whole whimsical fantasy aspect. So this particular piece relates to dreams through a fantasy kind of perspective. So it is a culmination of various dreams that I've had since I've been here, illustrated in kind of a child manner, kind of like a child's book, the way that would be. And every morning when I wake up, I write down what I remember of the dream in the way that I remember it, and I pick out one aspect of that dream to relate in this drawing. So like one dream, I dreamt that I was dressed up like Alice in Wonderland, however I was wearing a polka dotted dress. And so I did a quick drawing of that dream and titled it Alice Didn't Wear Polka Dots. This is going to be the house. Part of it is a homage to where we're staying here in Hungary, kind of a remembrance thing as well. I want to tie some of that in. So this is going to be a house, but out of the window I'm going to be crawling out because I had a dream that I was trying to escape an evil villain and crawling out through windows. The rug is just part of the homage to kind of giving it some pattern to break up some of the monotony and kind of make it more of that fantasy perspective. Like in a dream, nothing seems, when you wake up, it all seems like so odd and obscure that you can't believe that in the dream that it was actually plausible. So kind of putting in some of those factors to make it seem more questionable.
Well, I don't have the privilege of working in a creative environment for a 8 to 5 job. So, of course, the idea of being surrounded by people that have the same similar pursuit as I have, which is just this love of art, that was appealing to me. What I thought I would get out of the residency is very different than what I now think I'll get out of the residency. And I think in the past week, I've just learned a lot about myself.
To know the culture, to know some of the customs, things like that. To know a little bit about the social and to know a little bit about their political structure and things like that. And I think in my work it affects in a way that it's like extreme. That you, for example, you can look into homeless people. You can link to poverty. So I think in my work I'm trying to kind of show that it can be translated to different kind of levels, not only socially but politically, and that was my curiosity about coming here to Hungary.
I wanted to have a good long uninterrupted period where I could really just focus on art and not think about anything else, to get away from my ordinary everyday life. I thought the idea of Hungary was neat to me because it was a Middle European country that I had never seen before. The only other European countries I've seen are Italy and France. I've never even been to England. But also because as a former communist country, I was very curious to see how the transition to democracy was taking shape in Hungary.
The Hungarians have suffered a lot and went through an enormous amount of upheaval during the Soviet era and have continued to struggle in the post-Soviet era. So I have a tremendous amount of compassion for the Hungarian people, and I think when I encounter Hungarians who are gruff, terse, not all that friendly, I think it's because they've been through so much and are being Westerners are sort of flooding in again, but they haven't really figured out how to integrate it all yet and absorb it and figure out who they are in the context of coming back into the West.
I was really interested in kind of setting myself up someplace that's really unfamiliar.
which Hungary certainly does that. And so now that I've come here, I've started implementing more figures and loosening up a little bit because I'm making everything's really planned out beforehand.
Well, basically because I'm always sort of looking at opportunities that are out there, and I came across this one, and part of it is because it was in Hungary or outside of the U.S. I like to travel and sort of experience different places, so I thought it would be a good opportunity, and I was fortunate enough to be asked to come here.
I had heard about this residency through multiple friends. I had a friend who came here last year and a friend who also came this year, and a professor who knew about this residency, so I was kind of directed toward this residency. They said for my first residency it would be a good residency to start off with.
This is the 10 years anniversary for the residency. I think in the United States, especially 10 years ago when I started to do it, there was no international connections, and I had a very good knowledge how works Hungary, and tried to set up this kind of cultural exchange, and I saw that it's people love to be here. Second of all, it's very rarely people has interrupted time to work, and this is a good environment to create something new in the new environment. So I just started to do it, and then I saw a lot of interest, and I think it's a very unique program. But more than 200 artists came, and that's a very nice crowd, and most of the artists we keep good contact, and most of us stayed friends, and organizing together exhibitions, and just everywhere on the world, people coming and meet with each other, and I hope all the artists benefit from it.
Beate, thank you very much for inviting me to the circle.
Köszönöm szépen, hogy meghívtatok erre a kiállítás megrendelésre.
I only have about 9 months in my current job.
Csak 9 hónapja dolgozok ezen a munkában.
But in that time, I've had a chance to see a fair amount of Hungarian art, public art, private art, museum, contemporary.
Ebben a 9 hónapban volt lehetőségem, hogy azért lássam a mai magyar művészetet, múzeumokat és galériákat.
And what I've learned is there's a great history of virtuosity in Hungarian art, and it remains an extremely vibrant sector for a relatively small country, a very big sector.
Hogy egy nagy csoport, aki művészettel foglalkozik Magyarországon.
And it's very inspiring to see, because this is something the United States can learn from Hungary.
És ez nagyon érdekes nekem látni, mert ezt Amerika megtanulhatja Magyarországon.
Because it's clear that Hungary really reveres and loves art.
Mert az tisztán látom, hogy a magyarok nagyon szeretik a művészetet.
And it apparently also enjoys inviting artists from other countries.
És a magyarok örömmel meghívják a külföldi művészeket.
Because the other thing that I have learned in these 9 months, just by going around and being surprised by it, is how many Americans come to Hungary to learn art, to practice art and to share art with Hungarian counterparts.
Universe or one. I am God, womb of goddess, or back of turtle, you pick. This picture was day one in London on the long road to Hungary. It was hot. So hot. It's been hot this whole trip. Continues to be hot everywhere I go. So hot in Hungary, I cannot think. Cannot write coherent sentences. I hide in an old wine cellar and stare at my computer. I am here in the residency to write a play about fighting global warming so that I can help the fight against global warming. But so far, global warming is winning. The heat has handed me my head on a platter. Heat is my Achilles heel. It makes me tired, makes me cranky, makes me bloated, makes me cry. I turn into an abandoned child, an oily rag, an unformed creature, useless primordial ooze.
I don't know what I learned. I just enjoyed getting or being exposed to all the different work that all the everybody that participated in the residency was producing and getting to see just what kind of work they do.
It was not at all what I thought it was going to be, but having to deal with it has helped me to grow and understand a great deal of things that I didn't before about other people and about myself. And I have loved Csopak especially.
I learned that it's very hot in Hungary, and the beach is great. And I've met some really exceptional people that I've learned a lot from, and I hope to take a lot of those relationships with me when I return.
What is it they say? I'm going to Disneyland? It was awesome.
I think that I don't have anything in my brain right now to share with you. Sorry. It's a parole.
I liked the residency. I got a lot accomplished. I had all the work that I wanted to get done finished.
What do I think of the residency now that we're all going and leaving? I think I'll really appreciate it once I'm home.
This is my first one, residency that I have applied, and the first residency that I participate. And I think it has been a whole new experience for me because I'm still a graduate student, and I'm socializing and living with other artists. I mean, that already have experience in the field. I mean, I think that
Beautiful.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Vegetables, bananas, and apples and aubergines. Everything is injured a little bit, so I cured and then cured.
A sorsom jobb vagy rossz nekem. Itt minden idegen. Más csak otthon lehetne.